You're listening to the Kelly Green Hour for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter at ANY Podcast or visit us on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back, hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever fight me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kelly Green Hour here on the Always Next Year podcast. I'm your host, LJ Harrella, and as always, joining me is Connor. Connor, it's been one of those weeks where we're both, in the middle of stuff, so we do apologize to our listeners that we haven't been able to get anything out earlier in the week, but we're back, and we are ready for some Eagles football.
Yes, sir. You would not believe how much pop people drink this time of year leading into the holidays, and that's basically why I'm busy all the time.
Man, and I'm trying to get a half day before Thanksgiving, so like everything's about numbers at where I work, so they're like, if we can hit a number, we'll have a half day. So I'm like, all right, I'll work late. I even went in this morning. I hate getting up early on it was supposed to be a day off, but you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. Hey, we're the same way, but we don't get half days. We just get like bonuses and stuff. So
actually, I would take a bonus over a half day. I won't lie. All right, so let's quickly talk about the Eagles-Patriots game. The Eagles fell 17-10 after jumping out to a 10-0 lead. The offense looked really good in that first quarter. And they had that, I think it was a 19-play drive, which is the longest drive that the Patriots had given up in God knows how long. But Eagles weren't able to sustain it. Tom Brady didn't look good. It took a Julian Edelman touchdown after a freaking Nate Gary missed tackle. I think it was on third. It was like on a second and long or something on a run by the Patriots. And the Patriots were able to get into the red zone, and Edelman found Philip Dorsett for a touchdown. Eagles defense played really, really well. They don't, you can't blame them. You got to blame the Eagles offense, blame Doug Peterson. His infatuation with using Boston Scott a lot. Yes, I get that Miles Sanders was banged up, but if that's the case, if you're going to run Boston Scott, stop running him up the middle. I hate when he did that with Darren Sproles, and he's doing that with Boston Scott. And I know you're a Boston Scott fan, but you got to be kidding me when it came to those play calls.
No, it's true. I like Boston Scott. I think there's potential there, and I think that no matter how much you hate him, just like Nate Gary, he's going to be on the team, and the team sees something in each of them that's going to keep them around for a while. So we might as well learn to appreciate what we can of them. And I mean, yeah, you can't just run a guy like that up the middle. Like same with Darren Sproles back when he did with Darren Sproles, always running him right up the middle. They just don't have that vision. They're not Jordan Howard. They're not Miles Sanders. They don't have the vision to find the hole. They're your pass catching back with a ton of speed, and they just like to run straight. So if there's nothing straight ahead, they're going to run straight into the back of the offensive line, which we saw him do countless times. But I think the whole loss and the whole complete massacre of the offense goes beyond Boston Scott or Miles Sanders. Carson Wentz, I think, can be blamed a bit more this game than I've been able to blame him in past games. And I think more and more things have to start falling on Doug Peterson, because week after week, people said, Jim Schwartz, calling for his job, calling for his head, saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? But at the same time, nobody will ever look to Doug Peterson or blame Doug Peterson or attempt to even consider throwing Doug Peterson under the bus.
Yeah, nobody's going to talk about him, and you're right that it is all on Jim Schwartz. But after that report came out, that Schwartz has a little bit more pull in terms of who the Eagles can bring in. Like when they bring in Zach Brown instead of Jamie Collins and a couple other people. So who knows? But the Eagles definitely, the offense, definitely needs to pull their weight. Yeah, the Patriots are a good defense, but they had them where they wanted them. They were up 10-0, and then they just couldn't do anything. Carson Wentz didn't have his best game. I love Carson Wentz, but he's got to get better. And also, the receivers have to find a way to get open. I get everybody's talking about Carson Wentz holding on to the ball, and he should throw it away. I get, look, he doesn't like to give up on a play. That's why he holds on to it. But when your receivers aren't getting open, like nobody got open. And yes, there in the fourth quarter, there were a couple throws that Carson missed, and they were pretty bad misses. So
they were really bad. Like, I know everyone wants to throw flack on Nelson Aguilar. I mean, when you look, seen the replay over and over again. It probably was going to be a tough play to make. It's easy for us to sit there and say Corey Clement made that a couple years back or whatever. I don't think it's as easy as everyone thinks it is to make that play, that catch. But it was a lot easier for Carson Wentz to hit. I think it was Aguilar on one play that he completely missed and threw way ahead of him. And then I think it was Ertz or Goddard that he threw way behind on another play that would have set a far easier play up on that fourth down than that throw to Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, but also Aguilar took a terrible path to the ball. He could have made it a lot easier than he did. He does
absolutely.
He does not know how to track a football. And then I think it was it was either earlier in the fourth quarter or I don't remember. There was a pass that he actually caught, but he made zero attempt to get his feet in bounds. It was the ball, and I have no idea why. Like his awareness of where he's at on the football field is awful.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I mean, in a situation like that where Carson Wentz knows this, Nelson Aguilar knows this, Doug Peterson knows this. Aguilar is a terrible ball tracker. He has no clue where he is on the field at any point in time. He could be standing beside the opponent on their sideline calling for a pass to go his direction, and he wouldn't even realize that he was standing on the opponent's sideline.
He's making $9 million. He needs to realize that.
You have a guy, you have Ertz, you've Goddard. We talked about this preseason. You have Ertz, 6 foot something. Goddard, 6 foot something. J-Jaw, 6 foot something. J-Jaw got the ball thrown to him like 2 times. People continue to throw him under the bus. They continue to get upset. He's not getting the targets. He's not getting the time. Like, you look at Nelson Aguilar, he's still getting 80% of the time, 80% of the snap share.
At the only speed they have at the receiver position.
Well, now we have Jordan Matthews, and then there's
Jordan Matthews is not a speed receiver.
But there's no reason. There's no reason.
Great word now.
There's no reason that J-Jaw is at as low as 20% snap share. I don't care if you're fast. I don't care if you're slow. When you're having trouble moving the damn ball and Nelson Aguilar ain't cutting it, giving him 82% of the snaps is clearly not opening up the offense. You might as well go. You might as well go with the all 6'5" guys on the field and hope one of them can go up and grab the ball out of the sky.
You want to know why he's getting that? It's because of the $9 million that Howie Roseman made a mistake of bringing him back.
But that doesn't matter. At this point,
it doesn't. It shouldn't matter, but it does because it comes down to the dollars. They want to try to get every penny worth, which we all know he's not worth that money, but they're trying to get every penny that they can out of him. When it comes
at this point
to that
in
money
the season, it's about getting the wins. It's about getting the games. I am for the Flyers. I vouch for sitting JVR and Voracek in their terrible contracts if that means that they smarten the hell up. So I am all for sitting at $9 million. We have like $20 million in the cap. There are plenty of free agent receivers. You sit that man and you do what's going to get you the win. Who cares about your cap situation? You have over $20 million available at your disposal, and you have decided, Howie Roseman has chosen to do nothing. Absolutely zero. There were teams that wanted to give us like second-round picks for Nelson Aguilar in the offseason and last season. Why didn't you move him? You knew that dollar amount. He's like 15th highest paid wide receiver in the league, and he's playing like last week he was the worst. He actually, based on PFF, he is the worst receiver in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I know, but with hindsight being 2020, I don't think anybody thought he was going to be this bad. So
you knew he wasn't going to be that good. Wide receiver 15. Let's use fantasy talk for a minute. If he's getting paid that wide receiver 15 money, you expect him, if you don't think he's going to produce between 10 and 20 as ranking in that position, get rid of him. I don't care
I also
what
think
anybody says.
nobody thought that
get rid of
Deshaun was going to be out. It was only going to play one game. And I think if you have a Deshaun for the entire season with a healthy Nelson, with a healthy Alshon, his role is different. He is a pure slot receiver. When you try to do something different with Nelson, he can't do it. So I mean, I don't think did we think that Deshaun was going to have a great week 1 and then not play the rest of the year? I don't think we thought he was going to miss, maybe 2 or 3 games here and there.
Everyone had to be a realist and know he was going to miss.
Yeah, but
time.
nobody thought he was going to miss 15 games. And that's what's happening.
Absolutely. No,
and I think obviously that changes things.
At the same situation, and this is what scares the living hell out of me. We abandoned the run last week, and I think that's largely to do with the fact that Jordan Howard was not on the field.
And our wide receivers got up too.
Yeah, and our wide receivers have been garbage. That is in large part to Deshaun Jackson. What happens? So clearly each position is leaning on one specific player. We're missing Lane Johnson this week. I am petrified to think about if our receivers went this direction, our running backs went that direction with injuries, what's going to happen? Because we know Jason Peters is not 100%. There's no guarantees he makes it through this full game, and he has to play a full 4 exactly. He has to play a full 4 quarters because Andre Dillard is on the other side filling in for Lane Johnson. So I'm petrified to think that if our receivers went this direction, our running backs went this direction, where our offensive line will go with these injuries, where our cornerbacks were when Jalen Mills was gone and when Avonte Maddox was gone and with Cravon LeBlanc. We relied too much on 1 or 2 guys at every position. We clearly were not as deep as we thought we were, and it is showing massively.
Yeah, the team was overrated in the offseason, I guess, and we can say that. But let's move to this week. We have the Seattle Seahawks, a game that was originally scheduled for 8 p.m. and now is a 1 p.m. game. Jadeveon Clowney did not fly to Philly. He's a game time decision. Obviously, he can jump on a flight tonight, get there, play in the game tomorrow. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out, because when you have Andre Dillard playing on the right side for the first time in his life, it's different. Yeah, everything is different. You have to flip everything. He equated it to trying to write a big long essay left-handed. If you're a right-hander and you have to write a big long essay and write it with your left hand, that's what he's equating it to. So it's not going to be an easy transition, but if Jadeveon Clowney's not on the field, that makes things a little bit easier for the Philadelphia Eagles offense.
Oh, big time. I mean, that's one of the key matchups in this whole game is if Jadeveon Clowney's on the field. We thought him against Andre Dillard against Khalil Mack was huge. No, this becomes, I think, even bigger than Khalil Mack, because Khalil Mack's having a really off season and a down season, and Jadeveon Clowney really is not, and he's proven, and sadly we have to admit you may have been right on this one, that we missed the boat on Jadeveon Clowney, especially getting him at the amount that he was being traded for. We could have easily gotten him and used him. So if we thought the Mac matchup with Dillard was big, I think this matchup is even bigger, because you're playing a side that you have probably maybe touched on slightly in practice, but never in your wildest dreams thought you'd actually be playing on that side of the field full time for 4 quarters.
And I am happy that they're doing it, because they're getting their 5 best offensive linemen out there. Halapoulivaati Vaitai, he sucks. He was awful.
They could have. They talked about it, and you know what? You really could have put Vaitai out. They could have said he's played the right side. He's played guard. If he can't handle guard, and we've watched him play tackle, we know he can't play guard. We know tackle is even worse. You have to double everybody. And if he's watching Jadeveon Clowney, you probably have to triple team. Every time he goes, you have to have their guard and tackle watching Clowney with the running back also watching him, because Vaitai's just that damn bad.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks defense right now. We mentioned Clowney possibly. He's a true game time decision. We don't know if he's going to play. They have Ziggy Ansah. Their linebackers are really good. Bobby Wagner's one of the best middle linebackers in football. KJ Wright, really good. They have Michael Kendricks, who he is just all over the field. You know he's going to want to come out and show out. He won a Super Bowl here with the Eagles. And then in their backfield, this isn't the same, Legion of Boom defense. They give up big plays. So the Eagles are going to have to take advantage and find a way to hit plays down the field. And with the promotion of Greg Ward, hopefully the Eagles use his abilities to get down the field. Throw it up every once in a while. Even if Carson overthrows, even if he doesn't catch it, try to open up the field, because then it can open up the middle for, Miles Sanders if he's going to be playing. Jay Ajayi, who is back. We don't know if Nelson's going to play. We don't know if Alshon's going to play. They're going to have to take advantage, try to open up the middle of the field, let Zach Ertz, let Dallas Goedert free. If you put Boston Scott out there, don't run them. Like, always run them up the middle. Like, let them hit some flare passes, do something. But they got to find a way to stretch this defense out, and hopefully Greg Ward can exploit that.
Yeah, I mean, last week we saw it. They didn't make any attempt to stretch the defense at all until it was too late. I mean, they got countless opportunities to do it, and they did not take advantage of every time the defense gave them the ball back. And we can't do that this week. You cannot wait and start pushing the pace of the game and pushing the flow of the game in the fourth quarter on your final possession, and it's do or die. You can't be doing that. So you have to push that the whole time. You know that there's no confidence in the wide receivers, and we get that. But, I mean, maybe it's time to go and play big ball. Go out with your Ertz, your Goddard, and your J-Jaw, and you play try and play just beyond the sticks, using Boston Scott, using Miles Sanders, and using those big boys, and either get them to go up and get the ball, or hope that Scott and Sanders can break free, because these other guys have to be watched over top and by the linebackers or the cornerbacks. So, I mean, you just really, it might just take a completely different strategy, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, because this Seahawks defense is not very good. So this is a good time to test a completely different way of playing offense, especially with all these injuries.
I also want to bring up, when it comes to special teams, when it comes to Boston Scott, he is a detriment when it comes to him catching punts. Like, I can't stand him back there. I hope Greg Ward, I think, can do it, so hopefully they let him do it. But he killed us on a couple of those punt returns last week, and he needs to figure that out. That's where I miss Darren Sproles the most. While Darren Sproles didn't always try to catch it, he at least knew that, if my feet are on the 10 and the ball is over my head, I'm not catching it. Not 8 times out of 10 is going to bounce into the end zone. You'll have that every once in a while where the punter just has a great backspin and it bounces and you get it inside the 5. Cool, you'll live with that. But I'd much rather that happen than him catch a ball and try to make a play and then fumble like he did a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it was hard to watch some of those special team plays by Boston Scott. I mean, he can be good, but when it comes to that last second split decision, it makes you cringe. It really does. And that's why he's not a good solo running back, running towards the pile and trying to find a hole, because I think that his decision making is just not that good to find a hole, to see a hole, to catch a ball, or to decide, do I fair catch it? Do I grab it and run with it? What do I do with it? Do I move? I just don't think he has that instinct in his mind, or he just hasn't played enough actual full-time professional games to be confident in himself in making those split-second decisions, which then, if that's the case, you definitely don't want that guy catching punts, because we saw that it could have cost us far worse against the Patriots, but luckily it didn't.
Yes. Let's move to the Seattle Seahawks offense. I can't believe it took me about 17 and a half minutes to actually bring up his name, but they are led by Russell Wilson, who's the front runner for MVP right now, in my opinion. He makes plays out of nothing. And the Eagles haven't faced a quarterback that can do that this year, I think. I mean, yeah, they faced Dak Prescott, but Russell Wilson is a totally different monster.
Yeah, I think this is the best QB we've faced.
Yes, and he has the weapons on the outside to make you pay. If Tyler Lockett is good to play, which I'm pretty sure he is, we know that when it comes to those what you like to call the scramble drills, there's nobody better than Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett will find a hole in the defense and make a play. He's got great hands, toe tapping ability, and we're going to see another receiver who the Eagles could have drafted. We're going to see DK Metcalf. They took JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Now, see, this isn't fair.
I know, fair. I get it.
Because what they have in DK. They know how to use him, and they use him that way, versus he gets on the field 50% of the time, whereas JJ Arcega-Whiteside gets on the field 20% of the time, gets through
he's
2
also
times a game.
a different receiver than what they have. Like the Eagles, when they drafted Jay, they have most of their receivers are all the same. They're all big and slow possession receivers. Besides Deshaun Jackson, they didn't have a legit speed threat. And DK Metcalf, he is big, but he's also fast. He can maybe only run 2 or 3 routes from the route tree, but he can catch the football, which something Nelson can't do. He can he can get down the field really fast, something that, J-Jaw really can't do. I still think that J-Jaw is more of a possession type receiver. He's not a burner. While I don't think Metcalf is going to be the best of the Ole Miss receivers that came out, I think A.J. Brown's going to be better. But Metcalf is doing what he needs to do. And we can't forget, they also have another guy that the Eagles could have had in Josh Gordon, and the Eagles wouldn't have had to give up anything for Josh Gordon. They could have claimed him, but no, they did not. And while Gordon is also another big receiver who doesn't have the speed he once had, he can catch the ball. We remember the game against the San Francisco 49ers for Seattle 2 weeks ago. He had a couple big catches in that game on third down and made a difference for them knocking off the previously unbeaten Niners. So, again, a couple guys on this Seahawks team that could be in Eagles colors right now helping us win games.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I disagree with bringing up Metcalf and J-Jaw in the same sentence because obviously the team knew what they were getting in J-Jaw because Doug Peterson admittedly right at the start of the season basically said this is why he doesn't get as much time on the field as we would like him to. But at the same time, DK Metcalf may be a burner, but they use him in the situations they know he's most effective in, whereas with J-Jaw, they don't even give him a chance to be effective in the situation that he is most comfortable in. They don't throw the ball up. They throw the ball at his knees and pray, or they throw the ball not where it should be for a guy who's like 6'5". But yeah, the Josh Gordon one, we could really see a big mistake by Howie Roseman this week because we know Josh Gordon, he may not be as fast as he used to be, but we know he's probably still faster than the majority of our cornerbacks and can definitely burn our cornerbacks if need be. He hasn't gotten too much of an opportunity to prove himself for this team. But, I mean, at the same time, it's pretty tough when you have Tyler Lockett on the other side who's completely stealing the show this year. We all thought without Doug Baldwin, we were like, what do we have in Tyler Lockett? Me, as a fantasy football player, drafted Tyler Lockett in almost every single league. But
that's about 15.
Yeah, you have to just be confident at the end of the day. And Russell Wilson's going to make plays with whoever he has, like you were saying. He's going to make plays happen with whoever he has on that field. He had Will Dissly at tight end. He lost him, and he somehow found a way to get anybody and everybody involved on that field. And very reminiscent of younger Tom Brady, not Tom Brady who's finally looking his age. He will get people involved. He will see a play when it's falling apart and he has to scramble. He will find the person who's coming back or find the person who's open enough to throw the ball to. It's rare that you have to watch Russell Wilson throw a ball away, which is really scary, especially when you consider the linebackers we have and the cornerbacks we have. I know that the defense has gotten better, but I think this is a different breed of offense with weapons all over the field, including, we haven't mentioned yet, Chris Carson in the backfield as well. I think this is a team that has a lot of weapons and can be very dangerous. And, I mean, last week, Tom Brady didn't even throw the damn touchdown that won them the game, basically. So this one, Russell Wilson can throw the ball, can throw the touchdowns, and he will do it.
I agree. And, the one thing you mentioned all the weapons that Seattle has. I think their weakness on offense is that offensive line. And again, this is going to be the defensive ends, Derek Barnett especially, cannot crash down, because if they crash down, that's where Russell Wilson becomes most dangerous, because he'll take advantage of that outside. So it's going to be key that when you're playing that Y9, keep contained on the outside, try to force Russell Wilson to step up and right into the waiting arms of Fletcher Cox, who has been playing great football the last month about. And we mentioned how the defense, as they've gotten healthier, they've gotten better. Nigel Bradham's going to play this week, so maybe we won't see Nate Cherry on the field as much. I will be so happy about that. We know that the secondary is healthy. Ronald Darby, Jalen Mills, the two safeties, they're back. Avonte Maddox. I am worried about, though, an Avonte Maddox against Tyler Lockett matchup if they put Lockett in the slot, because we've seen Edelman kind of did Maddox dirty a little bit last week. So that's my one fear. Maybe they put Jalen Mills with him and put him in the slot, because they've done that a couple times. So it's going to be interesting what type of scheme that Jim Schwartz employs against this really good offense of the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see what ends up coming of the defense, because they have looked a lot better. And when Jalen Mills came back, they've started to look a lot better. And I've defended them since the beginning of the season, as you know, through Twitter and through the Kelly Green Hour. So, and I will continue to defend them as long as they can be defended. But I mean, this game, I think, falls a lot more on the offense and the defense. We know that the defense can step up, and we know that this is a different breed of offense, but we know that they have faced some tough offenses with less players on our side of the ball, like when we played the Green Bay Packers and some of the other teams early, the Atlanta Falcons earlier in the season when we were without a number of people. Now we're healthy. We even have Nigel Bradham coming back for the linebackers. So it's a whole different defense every week that goes out there. It's a matter of, can we finally see a whole different offense coming out there, because this is not a good defensive team. I mean, like you said, they have linebackers and they have Jadeveon Clowney and Ziggy Ansah, and that really is about it. I'd have a hard time naming
Griffin
other
is
people.
Good. Yeah, Griffin is good. Their best corner, and they traded for Quandre Diggs, the safety. But you're right. They're not that good. So the Eagles have to find a way to exploit that. Use all your weapons and let the offense. So Doug Peterson has to be aggressive and stay aggressive. I think he kind of got away with that. You mentioned it last week. They got away from the run game after Miles Sanders got banged up, and I understand it because you don't want to just keep running Boston Scott, but they got to find a way to keep the ball in their hands. All right, so I
think Jay Ajayi will help at least.
Oh, he definitely will, because I don't know if Jordan Howard I don't think has been cleared for contact yet, so I don't think he's going to play. So they're going to be down a couple starters again on the offense. Obviously, Lane Johnson, Jordan Howard, probably Alshon or Nelly. So they're going to have to use Jay Ajayi. He's got fresh legs. He hasn't played all year. So, and just start run right behind those monsters, and we'll see what happens. You kind of touched upon it, but give us a little bit, some more keys to the game, and maybe a player or two to watch from either the Seahawks or the Eagles.
Well, yeah, we kind of touch on, I think the Jadeveon Clowney versus Andre Dillard matchup is huge if Clowney plays, especially because Dillard, lifetime left tackle, suddenly he's going to the right side of the field. That should be interesting. I think that Lockett versus, it depends where he is on the field. Lockett versus the corners, whether it be Mills or Maddox, is going to be a big one. The secondary has looked a lot better, but I put in my notes, we are facing the best quarterback yet this season. We faced some with a bigger name, i.e. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan. Sometimes you could argue with the weapons that they have might be bigger names, but I still think that this is the best quarterback as far as extending plays and making things happen. And just like you alluded to, I mean, we saw the Tyler Lockett catch, it was a few weeks ago, where Russell Wilson just heaved it up towards the end zone and somehow he came down with it and kept 2 feet in. That's the type of plays that they can make. And it really doesn't matter about that offensive line, because Russell Wilson will make something out of nothing. So that is this another key, is how important it is for the defensive lineman to keep him in the pocket. Don't let him scramble. Keep him there. Take a wider cut if you have to keep him within that pocket. But as long as you keep the pressure closing in versus the pressure coming forward, I think that you can keep him. You can make him a bit more uncomfortable than he's been. But I mean, the way our defensive line's played, it's tough to say if we can actually make that happen. And then I also have Chris Carson versus the second level of the Eagles. Chris Carson has had some major ball security issues throughout the season. I think I saw a stat the other day that this season or something has he's top 5 in most fumbles. So it's important to first and foremost make the tackle for the guys like Nate Gary, TJ Edwards, Nigel Bradham, or the safeties coming in to help him out. But with the history in mind of his ball security issues, you can definitely make more happen once you have the tackle. Once you have the tackle, he's going down, pound the shit out of that football and try and get that ball out. But it's important to get the tackle first, and as we've seen, that isn't always an easy thing for that second level, be it the safeties or the linebackers this season. And lastly, I have that it's a Goddard or it's Sanders and Ajayi game. There's clearly almost zero confidence in the receivers for Doug Peterson and for Carson Wentz. So I think it's going to have to be a big game for the tight ends and a big game for the running backs. And they're going to have to find a way to space out the field with guys who normally don't space out a field. But we did get away last week from using Miles Sanders in the pass game. Might it have been because of injury? Maybe. Heard that he was banged up, maybe, but even before that, they weren't using Sanders in the pass game, and we saw he is our best wide receiver, basically, and he's a running back.
Yeah, that's not a good sign at all. Mine is Russell Wilson against the Eagles linebackers, because if Russell Wilson has the entire playbook at his disposal, so they'll call 2 plays in the huddle. He'll come out, see what the Eagles are lined up as, change it up if he needs to. The Eagles have to, find a way to disguise whatever coverage, whatever blitz that they want to bring. So this is going to be really important for the Eagles and for the Eagles defense. Nigel Bradham, who hasn't played in what feels like 6-7 games, it's going to be important for him to be on his toes and be ready. You have to wrap up when you go after Russell Wilson. He doesn't like. He's one that will not be hit. But if you can hit him, maybe you can kind of get him to, get him to do something he doesn't want to do with the football. On defense, you mentioned it, having Clowney up against, Dillard, if Clowney plays. Because, again, Dillard's doing everything on the opposite. So, and then if Jason Peters gets hurt, do they put Dillard back to the left side and let Vita? I don't know what the Eagles are planning on doing, because we know it's very rare that Jason Peters finishes a game. So this is going to be important for the Eagles to find a way to stay healthy and not get any nicks, not get any bruises. And then Tyler Lockett, find a way to corral him. You're not going to stop. He's one of the better receivers in football. And it's amazing. When he came from Kansas State, everybody thought he was just going to be a special teams guy, a guy that just returns punts and kicks, but he's turned himself into a really, really good receiver. And working with Russell Wilson, it's doing wonders for his career. So the Eagles have to find a way to corral him. You're not going to stop him, but don't let him go off for big explosive plays. And if you can control that, contain him, and contain Russell Wilson, you have a chance to win the game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but I think it's a lot easier said than done. We talk about it as a key to the game, but Russell Wilson is crazy. He's one of the few quarterbacks who I can say is earning every last penny of that contract that he got, and he was worth it and some. I would almost argue it's a steal, the way that he is basically the Seattle Seahawks. He is that team. He is the heart and the soul. If that man ever went down, I think you could be looking at a team that could go 0-16 unless they went out and got Colin Kaepernick. But it is that important, that vital, that they have that guy on the team, on the field, healthy, and making the plays that he does, because most people wouldn't.
How crazy would it be, though? You remember the San Francisco-Seattle rivalry from, maybe 5-10 years ago, when Kaepernick was leading the Niners and Richard Sherman was leading the Legion of Boom. And if say that it's not going to happen, but say something happened to Wilson and they signed Kaepernick. Kaepernick's now leading Seattle while Richard Sherman is leading the defense for San Francisco. You think about that different thing. Nobody would have thought that 5-10 years ago.
No, it's completely different. You're sitting there and you're like, wow, Matt, could you imagine? Yeah. If that ever were to happen. But as we know, things with Colin Kaepernick in the NFL are probably worse than ever. So
yeah, and it's not.
He'll never be back.
It's not Kaepernick's fault. All right. Hopefully the Eagles win this game. We are going to get to the vaunted pick segment now. You lead 37-30 right now. We both picked against the Eagles. Then my upsets, we both actually took the Jets over Washington, and that was easy money. The Jets being underdogs.
Why the Redskins ever were favored in a game at all this season blows my mind.
I know. So we both got the Eagles game right and our one underdog upset pick right. My other upset pick was Jacksonville over Indy. That didn't go over so well for me. Yours was Arizona plus 10 over San Francisco, and it was a push because San Francisco won by 10. So you don't get any points for that, buddy. You don't get any points for that.
I wish.
So, and again, just so our listeners know, if you select the Eagles game correctly, you get 3 points. If you select your upset, okay, the Eagles game is straight up, and the upset and lock, or 2 upsets, whatever it is, you have to pick at least 1 upset, is against the spread. And for an upset, you get 2 points, and for a lock, you get 1. So we are in week 12, Connor. We're coming down to the home stretch here. What is your first pick?
I'm going with an underdog. I'm going the Green Bay Packers over San Francisco. San Francisco is currently favored by 3. I think we're starting to see some holes in San Francisco. That's 2 times this season Arizona's given a hell of a run to San Francisco. I think Green Bay is like clearly 10 times the team that Arizona is. So I think the Green Bay Packers straight up beat San Francisco this week.
I actually agree with you on that. But
that's an underdog pick.
That's a good one. I need Aaron Rodgers to have a big week because he's on my fantasy team. I have 2 upsets this week. My first one, I'm gonna ride with Jacksonville again and Nick Foles. They are a 3-point underdog against the Tennessee Titans. So hopefully, we don't hear any of this whole Nicky Six talk anymore. He ain't looked good against Indy last week. But I'm gonna take Jacksonville over Tennessee because I don't really trust Tennessee. Your next pick.
Yeah, I looked at that too because I'm like, man, Tennessee is not good at all.
No, not at all.
But my other game is just going to be a straight up. So the Steelers are favored by 6.5 over the Bengals. I'm going Steelers over the Bengals because I got no clue. Even with the James Conner and the Juju being out and the injuries, I just don't see any humanly possible way that the Bengals keep the game within 7 points. So I'm going Steelers over the Bengals because the Bengals are just that damn bad. We thought that Miami was tanking.
Yeah.
Woo, buddy, the Bengals are.
Yeah,
garbage is a compliment. Garbage would be insulted to be in the same sense as them.
Yeah, the Bengals are bad. They're on their way to drafting
Joe Burrows.
Joe Burrows with the first overall pick, or they could draft Chris Young because Chris Young is probably the best player in college football. My other upset pick will probably have people wondering if I have a concussion. I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys +9 over the New England Patriots. And I actually think Dallas might win this game outright. And I don't know why. This is a game that nobody expects Dallas to win, and they're going to come out and probably win. I hope they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also hoping a little reverse juju and hoping New England, shows up and has Tom Brady. Tom Brady did not play well last week against us. And Dallas is not going to give up on the run like the Eagles gave up on the run because they have Zeke. Dallas, I don't know if Dallas is going to win, even though I have just a weird hunch that they might, but they are going to keep it within the 9-point spread. I'm taking Dallas over New England. And now the Eagles, Seahawks, give me your pick and score and maybe reasons why, if you have any.
Yeah, well, my only reason why is I think this game's going to be ugly. You got a really good Eagles defense against a really good Seahawks offense. And then on the other side of the ball, you have a really bad Seahawks defense and a really bad Eagles offense. So I think this has all the makings of being a rather sloppy game with a lot of angry tweets by LJ throughout the game.
Calling for some speed receivers from Alabama.
Yeah. Which I'm all for, man.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Every mock draft I do, I got taking Henry Ruggs. So,
Henry Ruggs.
Whatever. At the end of the day, to all those people mocking cornerbacks, stop it. You saw it last year. Just stop. We're not taking a cornerback in the first round. We're going to be just.
Any good corners?
There's some decent ones. There's like Christian Fulton, and there's a couple other ones out there that are okay. But wide receiver is a clear gaping hole in need in our offense.
Obviously.
But I'm going Seahawks over the Eagles. It's basically a pick 'em. It's a 1-point spread favoring the Seahawks.
I thought the Eagles were favored by 1 point.
No, I think it's the Seahawks.
I'm pretty sure the Eagles are favored by a point. Last I saw.
I just put +1 because I always put plus for if I'm picking the favorite. So you may want to double check. I was on ESPN. It was a -1 Seahawks over Eagles. So.
Eagles are -1.
Okay, well, whatever. You know what? It's a pick 'em, all right? It's a pick 'em.
It is a pick 'em.
No game's going to be that close. I'm taking the Seahawks over the Eagles, all in the name of reverse psychology and in the fact that this is the end of the tough stretch.
And what's the score?
With the bearing in mind that I said it's going to be really sloppy, I think it's going to be low scoring again. I'm going 21-17 for the Seahawks.
Wow, that's crazy. I have my score written down, and it's also 21-17 Seahawks. So hopefully we get good reverse juju, unlike from last week when we both picked the Patriots and the Eagles. The Eagles lost. So who knows? But you're right. It's going to be an ugly game. And hopefully the Eagles find a way to they need to do something offensively. The offense is what's keeping them down.
Yeah, if I see any angry tweets tomorrow about something on the defensive side of the ball, the offense owes the defense about 3 or 4 good possessions in a row to their one bad one, because they have been absolutely atrocious over the last, it's been all season except week 1, essentially.
Yep.
And the Green Bay game, but I mean, the Green Bay game was pretty ugly. There was a lot of scoring going on.
And
that was bad on both sides of it.
And Carson's best game was week 1 when he actually had a receiver that could catch the football and had speed. So that's what priority number 1. I know we're going to get into off-season discussions and down the line, but we know we can say it right now. Priority number 1 for Howie Roseman: speed, get younger at receiver. That's what the heck they need.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into that because I've been doing mock drafts. I have us get in a receiver and a hell of a lot younger on the defensive side of the ball with my mock drafts. Basically receiver and getting younger on the defensive side of the ball, because that defense, despite how they're looking, I mean, you got Rodney McLeod, who's contract year out on the wrong side of 30. You got Jenkins, wrong side of 30. You got along the line, it's tough to say with Malik Jackson and everything what's going to happen, but it's not like we're getting younger anywhere on the field. We're just getting older people and praying.
Yeah. And we'll see, because there was that report that the Eagles are looking to extend Ertz and Johnson and Jenkins. But if you had to,
and Lovato, and they did it.
They did that, whatever. When you don't hear your long snapper's name at all, that's a good sign. But if you're asking me, and then you looking at McLeod and Jenkins, which one you bring back, I'm probably bringing McLeod back than Jenkins, but that's just me.
That's as a money-saving thing. There's some decent safeties. I actually have us drafted. I actually had us in mocks taking 1, maybe even 2. There's a couple safeties I wanted us to take this past year that we did not take. And, I mean, we just got to get younger at certain points in the field and better, because I have us taking a linebacker too, because obviously, I mean, I like TJ Edwards. I like TJ Edwards. That's about it. I guess that's as far as I'm going. But we got to get a bit more experience there, like an actual good linebacker from in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round kind of situation.
Yeah, somebody from the SEC. They usually have good linebackers. Or the Big Ten. Nah, I'd much rather.
It should be interesting. We have a lot of ripping into Howie to do, and a lot of anger throughout the offseason. I think no matter how this season ends, because I think we might limp into the playoffs and get completely slaughtered in the first round, because the NFC is
loaded. Better than the AFC.
They're dangerous. You don't even want to go to wildcard weekend. If you're one of those teams limping in, you don't want to be that team limping in.
The only good thing, though, would be that game would be at the Link, because in order for the Eagles to get in, they have to win the division. They won't get a wild card spot. So if they make the playoffs, the game will be at home, and the Eagles play a heck of a lot better at the Link than they do on the road.
Seems like the same thing for every Philly team. Flyers are doing the same thing right now, and the Sixers are doing the same thing right now. They play way better at home, but can't seem to do a damn thing away from the Wells Fargo, the Link, the 4 corners of that area.
All right. Well, I'm glad we were able to get back, Connor. And to our listeners, thank you for bearing with us. Hopefully, I mean, next week will also probably be tough because it's freaking Thanksgiving around here. And I'm not a big turkey fan, but we'll figure it out. We will definitely get another segment out reviewing the Seahawks game and getting you ready for the Miami Dolphins.
It'll feel a hell of a lot better to preview these next 5 weeks.
It definitely will.
There's not much good to say about the teams we're facing, where we can find nicer things to say about the team, our Eagles team.
Yes. All right, so you can follow the Always Next Year podcast at ANY Podcast. Follow Connor at Connor10, that's Connor TEN. Follow me at LJ Harrell 54, that's HARRELL 54. Again, I'm always talking football. Telling Howie who to draft. I sent the Eagles and him a tweet today saying they need to draft an Alabama receiver because you can't teach speed. Connor is all about fantasy football and talking about the Eagles and everything. So we'll get into discussions with you if you would like. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for listening to the Always Next Year podcast here thank you for listening to the Kelly Green Hour here on the Always Next Year podcast.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such eager my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.